Cool. It's saying that I'm streaming. I'm going to get onto my handy dandy cell phone and visit my channel because this is normally where things get kind of goofy. This is normally where things get really hairy very fast. Oh wow, that is definitely the best quality I've seen in a while. Good deal. Alright, sweet. I suppose that since we got that going, um, uno momento, I'm going to hook up my phone to my USB port. Oh, goodness. The wife tries so hard to make the bed, and I just make it worse. I just come along and ruin all of her plans. Oh. Alrighty. This is also kind of a trial run. I was making sure that I got my OBS set up to where I think that I can run the game online. That I was wanting to do here in a couple weeks. But generally speaking, we're just going to be doing like some general dungeon mastery stuff. Just kind of my version of sitting back, relaxing and chilling, right? So we ain't got nobody in the stream yet. In the meantime, though, I'm going to be showing some software that I have available for free that we can work with. The first one I've got is the OpenOffice by Apache. I also have GIMP that I need to pull up, and I'll get that booted up real quick. I also have this one app called Dice version 2. We'll pull that up, and of course we have the 3rd edition PDF of Basic Fantasy Role-Playing Game by Chris Garnerman. We are going to be just doing just a general thing tonight. We're if you feel like joining me, we're going to be just kind of sitting back, relax. You can actually watch my creative process at work. It's not mind-blowing, but it is going to kind of help some people out that end up being like, oh, I have a game coming up. I want to run homebrew, but I don't know how I want to run it. It's not too difficult. Okay. So I highly suggest, especially now that I have all my programs booted back up. Okay, so we're going to go over to the Apache OpenOffice, right? And I've also had this question come up, people wondering about my fonts that I use. So there are 3 actually main fonts that I use. I will use what is called Saltine Black. This is what you generally see for your titles. What in the world did it do that for? Okay. There's also a regular Saltine, in which normally when I put in bold, it is a header. But when I'm not using it in bold, it's because it is the main text. But I also will use what is called Century Gothic. Century Gothic is what you see mostly when it comes to tables. So like you want to do a monster table, and like this is what I do for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's our Wandering Monster table. I'm not a typist, by the way. I'm terrible when it comes to typing. I'm not good at it at all. So that's where we'll have Silly Billy, Giant Sock Puppet, Shoe Man, Radioactive Banana. We also have Lord of the Springs, and that's actually a very adult name. I better get rid of that. Lord of the Sings, because it's musical, and we have Guitar Demon. So that's just some placeholder stuff, right? So that's just me being a goofball for the most part. We got just some general things to work with, general things to go along with. This is where I feel like most of my bread and butter is for my content. As you could clearly see from the text, I don't take stuff seriously. Plus, this is all placeholder. This is all just basic placeholder text anyway. So, like 1d5 for the Silly Billies, we have 6d for Giant Sock Puppets. We have 3d100. Shoe Men, we'll have like 1d1 Radioactive Banana, 70d3 Lord of the Sings, and 8d8s for Guitar Demon. Again, this is just placeholder text. This is, you're probably looking at this like, man, you've lost your mind. Why would you ever type something like this? This really actually just gets my... Okay, it's kind of like shadow boxing, where if you watch a pro fighter ever shadow box, they're not really trying perfect form. They're just basically just loosening themselves up. They're not trying to practice fundamentals. They're just kind of getting their arms moving, and they'll move their head and shoulders in certain ways to get loosened up, right? That's what they do. So this is kind of my way of loosening up whenever I set a bet on this. Okay, so... You know, it looks goofy, like they'll look goofy whenever they do their thing, but, you know, it's something to get the juices flowing, it's something to get the blood pumping. The fact that my stream has not cut out yet has been very heartening. I'm very pleased with that. So, I'll, let's see. To the Rex Den. So there we go. And that's just me to get some engagement going. My live streams typically do worse than my actual videos, but that's to be expected most of the time, unless you're somebody who has made their living off of Twitch or YouTube streams, and more likely you're going to go with Twitch. It'll be different. Also, I just realized my fat head has blocked the placeholder text. So let me go into OBS and we will... That's not what I want to do. Alright. Go to video capture device. We will shrink way down. Alright. So, let's see how that works. So let's see if my really dumb ideas have made it onto the page, right? Yeah, okay, so this is just placeholder text. So what do we want to do? So don't have a title yet. So really the only reason I do this is because I look at the page and it gives me a slate to kind of look at and bounce ideas off of. So anyways, so this was just to demonstrate my fonts mostly. So by and large, I'll mostly, if I do anything, it'll be Celtane or Times New Roman. until it's time to put like, and then until I feel like stylizing it, right? Excuse me. So first we want to come up with a theme. Okay, so this is going to be very basic adventure design. So we have multiple sources that we can consult. So let's go to page, I think it's in like 143, I think. I'm probably incorrect on that. I'm 110% incorrect on that. So that's cool. We're at treasure anyway. We want to make our way over to the Gamemaster section, which is where we're at, and it's magical research, which is not imperative to this part of the video. What we want to do, right? So we're going to think about why, and this is kind of like Basic Fantasy's version of the mold bay method. The only thing different is there is no rolling table, but we can either decide with this or we can actually get the mold bay method. But let's say you don't have the PDF for that, because this is free. We don't have the PDF for mold bay. We'll just say I do, but I'm not bringing it out right now. Just want to stay on this. So we have Explore the Unknown, we have Battle and Evil Incursion. Actually, you know what? This is going to be general game mastery stuff, so who cares? Let me put everything, minimize things down. I will, okay, D&D Basic. So I need to bring my sticking windows back up. And okay. So let's say we need the D&D the D&D basic book. We want to go page, I think it was like 52. I think my PDF reader is probably not going to be great, but it'll get there. Okay. So all right. So we want to do scenario, right? So hello Rex. Hello RPG Dad. How are you today? I hope you are staying warm if you are hit by the winter. If you are not, continue being warm. Anyways, unless that is a bad thing, in which case get cold. So anyways, going to mold bay. So this is me just breaking out all the stops on my OSR stuff. So I talked about this in my mold bay method channel. This is just me putting up some content. Warming up, I guess. All right, it's like, this is the warmest it's been all week. It's 30 degrees, according to my phone. It is 30 degrees outside, which is the warmest it's been all week. It's been in the low 20s to low teens all week long. I'm sick of it. The snow has stopped. We had like a total of 8 inches of accumulation, I think. So, anyway, scenarios. D10. So, let's pull out our dice hat. We can also, of course, use our physical dice. We'll do the dice hat. That way you can see like everything that's going on here. Alright, so we rolled a 1. Exploring the unknown it is. So our scenario is exploring the unknown. Right. So we also have setting. Alright, sweet. So setting, what do we want to do? Let's take our D6. We rolled a 1, which is a castle or tower. Castle or tower. Alright. So our next step is key monsters. So let's go to special monsters to use, in which we're going to decide what special monsters not place using the monster tables will be used. And one of the reasons I brought up Basic Fantasy is because this got into. This is what I was talking about earlier about a lot of people misusing the table within these OSR books. So, because it's very obvious in Basic. Okay, so see levels 1. Let me blow that up for you guys. So level 1, level 2, level 3, and then that's it. The next part is to go on to expert. Stop throwing expert level monsters at your basic beginning level party. It is annoying how often I see this on YouTube from people who don't know what they're talking about. Because people that played back in the day did not do that. You will talk about you will hear all the time that like, oh, we played so much with just basic alone. Well, yeah, then it's pretty obvious that you would not be using a level 6 monster then at that point for your basic level party. So anyway, I wanted to prove a point. So these tables down here, we want to have a beginning level adventure, right? So these tables over here do not exist for all intents and purposes right now. Only these 3 up here will. Not these. And if you want to talk about wilderness encounters, forget it. We are not going that route because we are not doing wilderness exploration. Okay? We are doing a very basic level dungeon adventure. Hex crawling is not really a thing until level 4 at least. So chill out with this. I feel so aggravated when I have to belabor this point. Because look at B2. There is a wilderness map. It is not a hex crawling map. It is a grid map. And it tells you that the encounters that people will have in the overland travel on that map only happen when they're in a certain amount of squares of the grid. So they're not having wandering monster encounters all the time every turn. So there you go. Alrighty. Anyways, to get back to the point, we are going to make a level. So choosing a key monster is going to be a little bit strange because of randomness. Some of the stuff from these more unknown weirdness, kind of exploring the unknown style adventures. But that's not to say we're not going to have a Gonzo adventure. So one of my favorite things to do is to do like I brought this up before in the past. Daniel Norton. So he takes a D6. So we're going to be rolling a D3. 1 through 2 is 1. 2 through 4 or 3 through 4 is 2. And 5 through 6 is 3. What do we get? We got a level 2. So we want to look over at this table. And we want to figure out what we want to, what's a key monster we want to put. And when we're talking about exploring the unknown, we know that we want to put in some stuff that's like kind of more like vermin, but not necessarily. Is this a lost castle or tower? Because keep in mind we have a setting here. We have a castle or tower. So we want something that would find use out of this monster tower, right? And so our obvious choices would be something like, so a ghoul, a gnoll, a hobgoblin, lizardmen, party of adventurers, troglodytes. General Undead. We'll of course find use out of this, but we want to choose something that will have treasure attached to it, right? That's the way I look at it. So let's look at that. So I'm thinking, let's say we want a very kind of classic medieval adventure, very low magic. There's a chance to have magical items, but that's not entirely going to be the point. It's going to be more about like loot and exploring this. The purpose is going to be exploring this unknown castle or tower. Who else is going to be interested in it besides another group of supposed adventurers? So we can come up with some party members. Now we want to, our key monster I'm wanting to use, a berserker would be rad. Perhaps an elf. But I kind of want to stick with humans. This is not necessarily an evil tower or an evil castle. I would say... Party of veterans, I would say. So we are going to decide on veterans. So let us go to the monster description and make sure that we have what we want. The cool part about basic is that there's not a lot of book flipping, you know what I mean, because everything's pretty close by. So not a whole lot of searching in the PDF or through the binder itself. To determine each veteran's level and alignment, use the method outlined under creating an NPC party on page 52. Party of veterans may be of mixed levels and alignment, or the DM may wish to give all members the same levels. So, I like to mix it up too. So we want this. But we want to determine how many of the veterans there are. First and foremost. And then we'll determine level alignment and all that stuff. Alternatively, you can literally just stick to this text block here, if you wish. So, we are going to roll 2d6, and whatever we get is how many. So we have 7 veterans. Sweet. So, the cool part is we want a treasure type, right? They are going to be carrying individual treasure. So it makes it a little hard when it comes to that particular part. But anyways, let's go. So we can of course like mix in like different the different races and stuff, but I'm a bigger fan of having them all human. So we are going to have, I believe we rolled 7. So we are going to roll for their levels now. So this is how I start with some of the details. This is the best OBS has worked for me in a while. Hopefully y'all ain't bored to death, by the way. I understand this is not exactly visually stimulating. It's more about hanging out tonight. I haven't done a stream in a while. And I especially haven't had one up on my computer in a while. So we want to roll a D6, and basically it's going to be acting like a D3. So our first veteran, is going to be a level 3. So make an F3. We are going to have a level 1. We are going to have another level 3. We are going to have another level 3. It's a pretty rough group of guys. And another level 3. And a level 1. And a level 2. So we could say that the adventure is not necessarily, of course, about killing these guys necessarily, but rather there's this group, they're held up in like this castle. In fact, we can have this as a castle town, as a separate thing, and these guys could just be running that town, right? So this is just how we're going to be kind of like brainstorming. So let us go to our GIMP map. So I like to do layers. I of course like to have a grid. We're going to put it in the background, right? But we're not going to be necessarily starting from a grid, and I'll explain that here in a minute. Typically I like to go down to 1, and 2 is usually good enough, or 32 is usually good enough, but I like to bump it up to 35 because it makes it easier, in my opinion, for the style of pencil brush that I use, for me to be able to put some features into the thing. And I'm not sacrificing a whole lot of room when I do this. So we're going to add another layer. We're going to name it draft. Right? And we will name this grid guide, because I am going to show you how to create a fairly decent draft, a fairly decent thing. So we want to start with, we're going to take our rectangle tool because it's very simple. We're going to be putting the keep in, and we're going to say, we're going to round it off to about 600 pixels and by 380, right? And we're going to put smack down in the middle. We're going to, okay, and this is on our draft layer. Good deal. All right, we're going to go to edit. We're going to do stroke selection. We're going to select our pencil and stroke. Was the pencil on the settings I wanted. I forgot to check that. Absolutely not. So let us undo that. We're going to go to this particular brush. This is my favorite. I like to do a 5. And I like having a 5 spacing and a 0.5 jitter. So now that we've done that, and now we have the setting where we want it. And this is the reason why. It's because it has this look of being hand-drawn. My hotkey is not working, so I'll just have to click select none. Okay, so that's going to be the key in the middle of the castle. This is basically just a draft. Nothing crazy right now. We can always go back, redo. We want a couple of towers. Normally you want to put them at the corners. I'll tell you what, we want to make them kind of even. We don't want them oblong shape, so we'll do 200 by 200. There we go. They're going to be decent sized. 200, 200. Placement is not everything. We'll be going back over everything here in a little bit. It's just a draft. This is us getting things going. 200, about 200. We'll say that this is a secret town. That is a secret castle town, right? So this is a secret castle town that we're making up on the fly. So yeah, this is just a draft. This is just a placeholder. We are just putting stuff on the virtual page to get things moving. Now we need to discuss treasure, because obviously we want something that's going to have some treasure in it. Now, we are going to combine U and V together, because this is going to be, these guys need to have some kind of treasure. It's going to be a little bit bare bones, if in some cases, because he's an individual treasure for these guys. But we are going to place some treasure. We're going to figure out a decent amount of treasure put in to get people going. Now, and I'll explain that method here in a minute. So, we got our U and V table here, right? So we're going to take our dice. We do not have any copper. Now, when it comes to this, I'm going to combine the silver and say it's 20%. In which case that doesn't matter, because we didn't roll it anyway. We're going to take electrum pieces, 5% for that. Nope. We're going to have 15% for gold. Nope. We're going to have 5% for platinum. Nope. We're going to have 15% for gems and jewelry. No to gems. We do have jewelry, so at least we got something. And because we have combined these two tables, and this is just me, again, this is not rules as written, this is me trying to make it worth the party's trouble. We're going to roll 2d4 for the jewelry. That helps if I click on the amount. So we're going to have 6 jewels. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Boost your mic just a bit. It would be great. Dice rolls are loud. Voice is soft. Uno momento. Okay. So I might. Let me go to my settings here. Okay. I might actually need to sacrifice a USB cable or USB port. So give me a minute here. I'm going to. I don't need this right now, so I'm going to eject. That's how you keep your USB drives from crashing this way. Testing. Still none of this. Let me try to. That's probably not it. Peter talks to his computer. He prefers. Nah, okay. 1, 2, 3. I don't think it's picking this one up. Let me try to go through settings. Audio. This is normally not an issue. Alright. I'll tell you what. Maybe I should just go this and just move myself closer to the laptop. I think that's going to be what I need to do. Now, as for the dice rolls, they're saying that that's loud, so I'll just mute that. Okay. So I'll try to set my headphone mic back up later. I had to restore OBS to its default settings in order to set up the stream because I've had a lot of trouble out of OBS in the past. And of course, anything I do with the laptop is going to be super kind of loud if I move or jostle it. But I'm going to try to make up for it. Just bear with me because I'm probably going to be very loudly pecking at the keyboard. Anyways, we had 6 jewels. Now, we're going to have 7% total for magical items. So let us see if we're even going to have that. Nope. Thanks for trying. Hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll try to get this rectified. Like I said, I had to restore OBS to its default settings because for whatever reason, the settings that I had it on, after I moved to where I live now, those settings no longer worked for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because I switched my Wi-Fi service, because I did not have Wi-Fi before. I was using total data. So, no problem. Hey, I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in, by the way. There's no real goal here tonight. This is just me kind of showing my creative process on creating an adventure, a low-level, basic-level adventure on the fly, brainstorming, and how you basically don't have to do a whole lot. So we're using Moldbase Basic. And again, I understand anytime I hit the keyboard, it's going to be kind of loud. So I get it. I understand. I'm sorry. I'll try to rectify that. I just need to find the right settings again. So, obviously all we have is 6 jewels for the treasure for the key monster. That's tech for you. Yeah, absolutely. I've never been a tech guy either. I'm so computer illiterate. Reminds me, I'm going to hook my phone back up to my computer because I was using it as a charge. And I'm also using my phone to view the comments so that I can interact with people. Going to be loud. Bear with me. Okay. So, a very good method Daniel Norton from Bandits Keep do is taking some treasure to kind of add and distribute around dungeon levels. Since the key monsters are going to be veterans, and since I'm putting them at varying levels, but I'm going to be using them as like level 2 monsters because that's where they're typically found on the Wandering Monster table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with some more treasure based upon the fact that this is probably going to be a 2-level dungeon, right? So I'm going to start with 2,000 gold, and then on the next level, and I'll explain to you how I'm getting that number. So let's go to the beginning of basic, right? And we're going to be interested in the leveling of the player classes, right? So let us find our fighter levels, right? So this is where I came up, and this is where Daniel Norton came up with the idea for 2,000 gold on level 1. What it is you take what will be enough to level up a fighter on level 1 to level 2, and you distribute that. Why a fighter? Because your typical party is going to be 3 to 4 members. So, of course, that experience and that gold is going to be divided, right? So let's say 2,000 gold on level 1 for a level 1 party of 4. That's 500 gold pieces a piece, and thus 500 experience points. So it keeps them from leveling up, but it does give them, 500 is still a good amount of treasure to have. So, $500 is a good amount of treasure to have. And then on level 2, in order to get a level 2 fighter, also known as a warrior, up to level 3, or a sword master, you need 4,000 experience. So we're going to take 4,000 gold and put it on level 2. So we're going to put in parentheses level 1. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And 4,000 gold level 2. So, alrighty. Now let's kind of brainstorm. What is the next step in using the multi method? I did a video on this last week, and I wanted to do in action today and show a very low prep way to come up with an adventure on the fly. Let's say we have a game tomorrow. What can we do? So this is his example. Let me go back. Our next one is draw a map of the dungeon, which we've kind of started already. We're just doing a rough draft right now. So he goes on to say that scale. We need to determine scale. Scale is the scale of the map is the number of feet each square on the graph paper is equal to. Most maps are drawn to a square of 10 feet per square. The scale depends on the size of the dungeon and rooms. For example, rooms are all larger than 100 feet on a side, or if the dungeon is thousands of feet long, the DM may wish to use a scale of 20 feet per square. On the other hand, a small tower such as the one in the following haunted keep is better at 5 foot or 10 foot to a square, and he does show, because I understand that especially within old school gaming, 5 feet square is not exactly very common. It seems to be very common in 5e and more modern systems, but this is a 5 foot per square map for the Haunted Keep East Tower. So we're working on our draft, right? So this is going to be a castle, and we're going to just we're doing rough drafts, and I'm using GIMP. We're going to do this because I want to, oops, hold on here, I got an idea. So this is a very quick way, especially using computer software, how to come up with stuff on the fly. I want to round that out. Okay, and we're going to go to edit, stroke selection, pencil, stroke, and I like using this setting because it has a very hand-drawn looking quality to it. But this gives us an idea that, like, without wasting paper or anything like that, of what we want to do for the outline of our dungeon. This is going to be a castle. Lines are not totally square yet, or totally straight yet, but we'll be working on that. So we want that. So we got our keep in the middle. We have our walls. The keep is the main focus of the castle. We can put some buildings around, like that. We're going to put some additional buildings around because we want to. Because the castle is typically like a town, right? You have a city inside of it, usually, and a keep in the middle. So the outside might actually be worth putting as 20 feet per square, but we'll decide on that later. Right now we're just putting in some extra buildings because for all intents and purposes, since this is a dungeon, think of these additional buildings more like additional rooms. So there you go. Typically there are some defenses for the castle. So, for example, a moat. So we'll put a moat going around the perimeter, and there we go. And there'll be like a portcullis or drawbridge, or portcullis and drawbridge that will lead out over here, but it can be raised or lowered for the defense. And along the walls we could put like pots of boiling oil or rocks or bricks to throw down on invaders or intruders, which is typically what was done historically speaking. um Again, I'm going to keep plugging his channel, Dirty Histories and Hobbies, Archeo Matt. He has a lot of videos on this kind of stuff. He is a huge history buff, and he could definitely speak with more expertise on that area than I could. After all, he did put up a product on Drive-Thru RPG with Castle Kusi, which is a real castle that exists. So, I mean, there you go. But we want to think about defenses. This is a gatehouse. Here are towers. There's the keep right here. The keep, we could say, has like its own kind of defenses. We'll put, like, for example, it's going to be boxed in by a wall. So there's that, and it'll have a portcullis and all that. So there you go. There's our draft. We're going to turn our grid back on, and lucky for me, I didn't really skew that far off when it came to my circles. We will be fixing it, but basically we wanted this to kind of round things out. So we're going to add another layer. This is going to be, we're just going to label it outside, because we do assume that the players are going to go in this thing if they come here. So let's start with our gatehouse, right? So we're going to zoom in, and we just need to clean up some edges and stuff like that. And typically when I do outside, I don't make it so detailed to delineate certain rooms. I'm going to come over here, do that, go up and over. I don't delineate rooms necessarily, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So if we turn off our draft, obviously we have something that's kind of resembling a sort of building. So what we want to do now, I like to turn off the jitter for this part so that everything is lined up. And I'll be turning my spacing up to about 100. And we're going to see how this looks, because this is how I typically do my portcullises. And if I feel like it's not clean enough, okay. In that instance, that was very much not enough spacing, because I want dotted lines. Okay, that looks a lot better. So that's what we're going to go with. With that done, I'll be turning this back down to 5, and I'll be turning my jitter back on. We're now going to draw the bridge. No pun intended. And what I do with my buildings is I add a little bit of detail to some degree. And what I'll do is I'll turn my size down. I'm going to find the middle of each corner square, go around the edges, because I'm basically trying to make a box on a box, because I want my building to pop like it's a bird's eye view. So this will grant it a little bit of a third dimension. At this point, you can shade the edges if you want. Some people do. I'm not too great at it. So, I mean, I don't know. That's just something I've always had trouble with. But there you go. And because this is a bridge, we're also going to do some creative things, kind of make it look like that's the edge of the bridge. And if you want, you could always like do some cross sections. To imply that this is made of wood. This is not about being an artist. However, I'm kind of like you, and I get a little OCD about certain things, so I try to design things that are easy to read, but look like what I want them to look like. So think of the mold vein method as kind of a challenge, right? It's like taking a very basic idea and trying to do something with it. So we're going to turn our draft back on, and we're going to start with our first tower, right? So I'm going to use my ellipse tool. I want to do something that's as close as possible to it. I like to do odd numbers on this particular side because it's easier to center up. It's slightly bigger than what we drew, but not by much. Pardon me. I thought I had a sneeze coming on and then it backed out. And I hate when that happens because it hurts so bad. Okay. So we're going to select none. With that done, we are going to now minimize our draft. We want to connect our tower to our gatehouse. So we're going to take our pencil and just blip. And I like to do 10-foot walkways because that's enough for, like, hey, if you know the guards to get up on the walls and start throwing stuff down. And this is where I'll take, again, I like to try to give some dimension. So this makes it look like handrails. There you go. And then what I'll do is for the tower, I'll do a slightly smaller circle inside of it. That looks centered to me. Pencil stroke selection. I don't know why my hotkey is not working tonight. That's a little odd. But you can interpret this as a ledge in and of itself, or perhaps the tower tapering to a sort of point. Pardon me. But there you go. Personally, I would think it kind of tapers a little bit, but then flattens out, and that's a ledge. And so archers kind of stand up there in case there's a need for defense of the castle. So this one is probably the closest of all the circles that we've had, coming close to our grid lines, our eventual grid lines. Okay, with that, okay, that looks pretty center. And stroke selection, select our pencil. And some people wonder why I choose the pencil. My hotkey worked this time. It's because I've tried it with the brush and I've tried it with the ink setting, and it looks sloppier and it looks weaker. Whereas the pencil grants it a very solid line. And that's really the key to a lot of this, is line work. So the cool part about towers and castles is that you can have walls that are slightly offset from each other, not necessarily straight on. And this could also double as a starting town, by the way. We just don't know yet. We're just goofing off. That's really all we're doing here today. It's just goofing off. We're going to put some ledges up on the walls like we did the other one. That looks a little slightly less straight on. I do want my line to be straight. There we go. I'll take our ellipse tool again. Basically draw from one corner to the other. 141 seems to be the magic number on this feller. A little bit too far on that side. Okay. Looks pretty good. Take our handy dandy stroke selector, pencil, and there we go. And I like to do smaller, thinner lines for like details, because it makes it look less busy. If you did this with another 5 setting, it would be very hard to read and actually gets kind of murky, and it just makes the map look too busy. So we're going to draw our next tower, and go back to our pencil tool, go back up to 5. This is another one that came pretty darn close to our grid. So it was very funny how it worked out. You can also do this in MS Paint, by the way, so you don't really necessarily need to have GIMP. Um, I would know because I used to make a lot of my maps in MS Paint. MS Paint has a lot of cool colors to play with. I watched a dude remake a map for the Battle of the Somme with MS Paint, and it was a very, of course, topographical map, but doggone, it looked so good. I'm telling you, man, some of those war gamers, man, they are really good at map making. It is redonkulous. It's kind of one of the reasons why I'm a huge proponent of eventually turning your role playing game into a war game. But, a lot of people would rather retire their character at level 10. Yeah, and that's fine. That's totally fine. You don't have to turn it into a war game. I've softened my stance on that in the past year. So, be cool if you did. But, I understand some people don't want to get into that kind of troop management system because it's like, nah, man, I'm just in it for the adventure. It's like, I totally get it. Okay, so we are going to run this line up right here. Cool. And that looks like it's a pretty good ledge. Having a tower that's slightly offset from the other, not a big deal. Just gotta play around with your line work. And again, this is one of the reasons why I think computers do have a place for this kind of thing. Some people wonder why I don't use Dungeon Scrawl. And don't get me wrong, I like Dungeon Scrawl, but it doesn't have all the tools that I need for some of the maps I want to make. When it comes to outlining, it does really good. It's very good. 7 o'clock, about 10 minutes to 8, and it's maintaining a 30-degree temperature outside. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot busier for me Monday when I go back to work. Honestly, wouldn't be too bad, but doggone, that road in London sucks. I absolutely hate the road work, man. And they're not supposed to be done with it until 2026. It's just like Corbin's not supposed to be done with their road work until like 2025, 2026. Okay. So we are going to go to this other tower. We are going to take our pencil. We are going to upgrade its size again. I did the opposite. I downgraded it to 1. I'll tell you what was scary, man. Was I was in Mount Vernon Wednesday, and the Coors truck was at the gas station that I was delivering to, and he had a customer that ordered beer off of him, of course, because that's his job, right? And the guy was trying to have him go up this hill that was definitely not made for a truck, and that dude kept calling like, there's no way I can make it up there. He goes, oh yeah, flatbeds come up here all the time. The dude was lying. Flatbeds never go up there. Flatbeds never go up there. And he was just flat out lying to him. And of course he went up the hill. And keep in mind, the Coors guy, here's the deal. I would have never attempted it. And, I drive a tractor trailer, of course. And I wouldn't have attempted it in his truck. and he was driving a straight back, with side bays. Because at the top, near the top, right before you get to that building that guy was wanting him to take it up, there's this really sharp turn. This is how I know the dude is lying. There's no way a flatbed could get up there. I have a hard time believing a pickup with a flatbed could get up there, let alone a tractor trailer with a flatbed could get up there. There's this really sharp turn, and there's a curb there. Well, because of all the snow and ice, the Coors guy didn't see it, and his passenger side steering tire, his front tire, jumped the curb, and he almost went over the cliff. That was the scariest thing. And the tow truck driver got him down off the hill, thank goodness. And that guy had the gall to come down there because, of course, they were filling out paperwork and stuff like that. So that, because of course Coors was wanting to know about it and blah blah blah. What did I do? Oh, I must have chose paint instead of pencil. And dude comes down off the hill and he's like, "What about my beer?" And that tow truck driver looked right at him in his face and he said, "I'm going to tell you right now, I don't give an F about your beer." And I was like, "Yeah, there you go." I wouldn't have attempted it to begin with. I would have told that guy, "You're going to come down off that hill and get your beer or I'm leaving." But I think the guy, I don't know if he was like a newbie and he just didn't want to rock a boat or what, but he didn't do that. I mean, that's understandable. That being said, use common sense, because that dude was, if he would have wrecked, that dude wouldn't have took up for him. I'm thankful that my customers, I probably have one or two that probably would do this, but the majority, I would say a good 98% to 99% of my customers would never make me do that in a million years. They'd never make me do it. So, thankful for that. Alrighty. We're going to zoom in. We're going to connect our towers with walls. And this gives us some. See, this mobile method is also really good for when you start drawing your map, getting a basic idea of what other monsters could be in here, because you're not just going to have these veterans. You might have, let's say they're in league with a bandit gang, or maybe there's a bunch of normal people here that would defend them to the death if they have to. Now keep in mind, the theme is supposed to be exploring the unknown. So I might just go with a dilapidated tower or a castle, and kind of riffing on that. Got a new subscriber. Thank you very much for subscribing. There we go. Looks like I got another viewer, so hello, hello. Nothing too exciting going on tonight. We're just chilling out. Everybody's just watching me and my crappy art on GIMP, making a dungeon map. We're doing okay. Hope everybody is fine and warm tonight. unless you live in an area in which in which you don't ever experience snow or anything like that. In which case, I hope you are staying cool. You would be surprised at how many people I had get mad at me, be like, "Yeah, I live in Australia." I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, mate. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry for assuming." That wasn't very straight at all. Okay, that's okay. I can start from down here. This will be easier. And again, I'm sorry if the clicking is very loud. I acknowledge it. Hopefully we will have sound issues fixed next stream. I don't hardly stream from my laptop very often. Looks pretty good. Alright, cool. Now for the hard part, because this one's going to be a stretch. Alright, so this particular wall. Got another viewer. Hello, how are you? Hopefully you're not a sex bot. Or a scamming bot from India. In which case I will promptly tell you to leave. And by that I mean I will be very rude to you. Use not very nice words. Add one. Get on one time, I embarrassed him. At the time I shaved my head. It was very obvious that I shaved my head too, because like I had stubble growing on my scalp. He's like, "Baldy, you're bald." And I'm like, "It's shaved, idiot." He's like, no, it's not. You're bald." And I'm, got stubble. It's literally growing back. There are videos on my channel showing me with hair. What are you talking about? It's just the kind of smooth brains that you occasionally get, I suppose. That's why I don't like very many people too awful much. Okay. So now we have the main walls taken care of. This is what the outer perimeter of the keep looks like, of the castle in the keep. I like having towers that are offset and walls that are offset. You're using OBS and GIMP. What OS are you using? This is OBS 26 1.1. I returned it to default earlier. Yeah, because I don't know what it was, if it was my Wi-Fi that made it. But the settings I used before that were really good for streaming on my laptop absolutely sucked this time. And it took me a couple months to figure that out. And I'm also trying to get it set up to where, you know, me and Archeo Matt from Dirty Histories and Hobbies, we plan on trying to stream a basic fantasy campaign pretty soon, hopefully with a few more people. And I wanted to make sure that I had things set up to where it would be feasible. I still haven't, because I've never streamed with another person before. So I've never simulcasted or anything like that. So I'm going to have to figure out the logistics of how that works necessarily. But I'm pretty sure as long as he's got a link, we can roll, you know. Oh, whoa. Trying to zoom in, but for whatever reason my little keyboard, my mouse here is freaking out. Alright, so let's get our draft. We want to put up the keep next. We're going to start with the outer wall of the keep. So we're going to go back to our 5. I'll draw it down to here. Go over here. Go up here. It's funny that our keep wall ended up being almost right on the money for the for the grid map. We'll go up here. Shucks. I just realized I need to leave an opening into the keep somehow. Oh, wow. I have gone too far back. It is okay. She's fixable. So a lot of people have asked me why I went back to dipping. It's because of this recent thing with the FDA and vape juice. They have made it very difficult. Cool, good luck. Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I'm doing it in a way to feel like kind of give back to all the subscribers and viewers that I've gotten over the past couple years. A lot of people, look, you don't have to agree with all my takes, but for the most part, people enjoy the content I put out. That being said, the only people that I seem to really anger are the right kind of people that need to be angered to begin with. So, there you go. Okay, good deal. But, everybody wondered why in the world I went back to dipping, and it's because of this whole thing with the FDA and vaping. They made it very difficult. I can't even get the juice that I'd normally get anymore. So, it sucks. I hate it. But, I mean, back to it. Boy, howdy, breaking in those calluses again was really difficult. Okay. We're going to... We are going to do a 20-foot gap. That way we have an entrance, probably a gatehouse for the keep. And clang that. I'd love to be able to get some of my old basic fantasy guys back together. I know Brian James is interested in it. He was one of my OGs that played in Morgansport. I'd love to get Tibble back. If I could ever get a hold of him, Tibble would be awesome to get back. Tibble was our magic user. And if I could get Carl back, that'd be sweet too. He played Grant, the half-orc fighter, I think, is what he was. He was Grant, the half-orc fighter. We had Tibble playing Magus, the human magic user. And we had Brian playing Karfinik, the dwarf cleric. That was a fun campaign. That was a fun party. I'd love to have them back, and they'd be cool to have them join Matt from Dirty Histories and Hobbies. That would be a hoot. I think they would get along great. Don't know what, not very sure what Carl is up to. I haven't heard from him in a while. And Tibble occasionally pops up on the channel, say like, "Hey, congrats," or this, that, and everything else. Like, which I miss those boys. I really do. Whenever I finally got life squared away, it felt like everybody else had moved on to other things. So it's like, So we are going to leave an opening for a gatehouse right here. This is us pretty much just putting... We might end up making each square equal 20 feet because the keep inside of the wall is going to be rather small. If it's just 10 feet. Uh-oh, what is going on? My little mousy mouse thing is stuck. There we go. My little mousy mouse thing got stuck. Oh, welcome to the T-Rex Den again, folks. Sorry, I had to take a look at something on my phone real quick. Alrighty. Back to it. So I think I've done a pretty decent amount here. So I guess I'm just gonna kind of like shelf it for a minute, but I'm going to show you what I do with my grid, because this is not the grid line that I keep. This looks, I mean, don't get me wrong, everything is totally digital, everything looks digital, but I'm going to show you what I do with my lines, my grid lines, right? So I'm going to put grid, and we are going to, actually, well, yeah, we're going to do that. And so what we do with our grid is, now you can of course just select off of grid guide and then apply it to the layer in question. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to delete this actually. So we're going to just click on grid guide, right? And I'm going to make everything invisible for the moment. So I'm going to select my fuzzy tool and I'm going to click on these grid lines. Now I'm going to show you my paintbrush real quick, what I've got it set for. I set it for 1. You see the spacing, you see the jitter, you see the force. This is normally pretty good. If you want to angle it, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done that before too. This is all just about playing around with it. This very simple setup. It's not as crazy as you think it might be. So now that we've done that, we're going to go back to our outside and click on it. We want this layer to be highlighted, because now we're going to go to edit. We're going to go to stroke selection. Now my computer is probably going to freak out. It's probably going to force close GIMP. It just occasionally does that. Yeah, it's saying not responding. Give it just a second. It'll probably force close it for a second. But it'll be fine because the program itself will still be running. I don't know why it does it. I don't know if it's just because my laptop is kind of a piece of garbage. But generally speaking, it works. It's normally faster than this. Okay, so it forced close. So that's how I know it worked, which is insane. So we're going to unhighlight. Now, to the naked eye, it looks like almost nothing has changed. That's because we haven't hidden the grid guide yet. And there you go. What we've done is basically take the paintbrush and it basically dotted all these little lines. So it has this very hand-drawn kind of quality look to it. That's what I do. So I don't do the stock grid line. So, but that's what I wanted to show you real quick. Some people asked about cross hatching. I typically don't do it in GIMP. Instead, I kind of do it with a stroke selection using one of the brushes in here. This one right here. Like it'll go around the edge. Now I have to play with the sizes because sometimes it will get inside of a wall where I don't want it to. But you know, that's what I do for cross hatching. You can find the Dyson Logos cross hatching online that you can like apply as a brush or as a mask. It's all fine, it's all cool, it's all dandy, however you want to do it. For now, I'm going to shelve this. I think we've done pretty good on that. So I don't know. I want to just kind of hang out a little bit before we get off, because I understand I've been going for a while now. an hour and a half. Alright, so I might do another stream where I talk about some stuff. Yeah, I'll probably do me a second stream here in a minute, so that I can keep the subjects uh, separate. But I'm going to try to work on the audio and get my microphone set up um, so that's not so bad, and hopefully you guys can hear me a lot more clearer. So anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for stopping in. Oh hey Steve, hey dude, I'm only on here for a sec. I figured I'd say hi. Hey, what's up, Steve? Uh, yeah, I'm getting ready to get off anyway. I'll probably start another stream, but I want to think of a topic to stream about. I just wanted to keep these topics separated. This is just me being lazy and putting like a basically showing my creative process. As boring as it probably seemed watching it, it's just how I'd kind of go about it. Um, so I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Dave, for interacting. You've definitely been the MVP. But I do want to give a shout out to RPG Dad. He was the first one to comment, and like I don't know if he's still watching or not, but if he is, hey, thank you. Um, so I want to say thank you guys. Take care. God bless. I'll see you on the other side. I'm going to try to do another stream here in a few minutes, talking about something else. But I'm going to try to fix my audio quality. So thank you guys.